Jank.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Dork Trek. Welcome, all of you lovely listeners. For those of you who don't know, we watch and review Star Trek podcasts. Jenny, I love your hat. Is that a Cartman hat?
It is a Cartman hat.
Do you have a time machine?
Kick ass.
Did you have one of these probes that they had in this episode and went back to the year 2000 and got yourself a
Sort
Cartman
of,
hat?
but the probe is up my ass.
Oh my God.
Nice.
It doesn't look very good over the headset, though, so I'm going to have to take it off.
So we are joined, as usual, by Dennis Black and Asian. Hello, Dennis.
What up?
Ben McCormick. Hello, Ben.
Hey, Bob. How's everything going this week?
Good, man. And Jenny Zell.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? And we are the core team that makes up this podcast. Thank you for listening. I got to be honest with you. I almost didn't watch this week because I've got a lot of stuff going on. But then I saw that it was a Tribble episode, and I felt like I had to.
Yeah, you have to.
So.
What was this, the 300th episode? Or what was it? What was the thing?
It's the 300th anniversary of Star Trek.
It's the 30th anniversary of Star Trek episode.
I knew there was a 3 and a 0 in it someplace, in some way.
And a TH.
Yeah. It was the
decimal
30th.
point over.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the 30th episode of Star Trek. This episode.
Yes.
30th anniversary episode.
This marks 30 years of Star Trek averageness.
Oh my God.
Some good, some bad. I mean, I think that's a fair statement, right? It's average, some good, some bad. Like if you went back and if you took all of our scores from Deep Space Nine and TNG, I'd say you're probably around like a 6.5, right? Like somewhere in there.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, but I don't think this is 30 years of averageness, though. You don't last 30 years and have spaceships named after you and, change the course of human technology.
Human history!
I mean,
Look, I'm saying it's 30 years up to this point of average. What really pushed it over the line for me and made it great was J.J. Abrams. I mean, he really brought a lot of excitement. And
We don't want to look at your dick, Ben.
I do, Ben.
Okay, he does.
Yeah, bring that to the boardroom, Ben.
Nice.
Nice.
Show us your titties.
Twerk on that dick. Yeah, cry. I like it when you cry.
Yeah, that was
the thing my boss said last week.
That was sexy and weird. I've always imagined you'd say that to me.
Mm.
But yeah, so this is third. And I mean, I don't mean, again, like, there's some shitty Star Trek, right? With stuff we haven't reviewed yet. Being like Voyager and some original series episodes and some what's it called there, the Enterprise. And then there's some great episodes, right? Like, so give and take.
I just think on average, it's more good than...
Oh, no, it has to be. I mean, you don't last 30 years.
That's what I was just saying. And then
Just look at the movies. Like, the movies basically average out to average.
The movies average out to bad. It's just that the good ones,
Rathacon and Undiscovered Country are pretty great.
that's
That's
it.
2 of 6.
Out of 11 movies.
Search for Spock's okay.
You know what? I really like Search for Spock. I know it gets a
The
bad
motion
rap.
picture isn't that bad. I mean, it's just boring.
I highly recommend people get the director's cut.
Now, when I come to town, can we
It's
watch
even
motion
longer?
picture?
No, the director's cut. Here's the funny thing with the motion picture: the director's cut is shorter.
Wow.
They let Robert Wise go back because when
Oh.
A lot of this sucks, is what he said.
that was the thing. Bob, you remember from the book?
Yes.
And that was one of the things is he never got to do a second pass on the movie. It was like, no, the deadline is December. You got to get the movie in the theaters. They had already like reserved theaters, and so if they did not have a movie on the screen that night,
Yeah, they were kind of fucked.
they were going to pay like huge amount, and they'd already lost all this money because they had to fire all the special effects guys, bring in new guys. I mean, so they were just like, Bobby, we need a movie on the screen, and Robert Wise made it happen.
He was a professional. I mean, he directed The Day the Earth Stood Still. I mean, this guy's
well, he directed Sound of Music.
He's a pro. He knows what he's doing. He's like, all right, you got a movie.
So when he knocks that out, but normally he would have had more time to work on it. So they actually came back to him just a few years before he died and let him have another pass at it.
Watching the movie killed him. That's what happened. Like, he was like, oh, God, this movie's so bad. And he died.
And now for the final cut.
No, well, I think when they promised that he'd have a chance to do yet another pass at the movie, that's when he was just like, no.
Like, now Star Trek 5. He's like, no.
Please, God, no.
I had nothing to do with that.
He hung himself.
Yeah.
We all should have. And that's and that's the beauty of Star Trek, because you can't have a motion picture as good as Wrath of Khan, as good as First Contact, as good as the others, and then have Star Trek 5 and just be like, yeah, I guess it kind of works itself out.
Well, I think the thing is too that, like, even when the stories aren't great or whatever else there's going on with it, the characters are so good and you're so involved with the characters that you want to find out what happens regardless of whether it's a bad story. And I think that's one of the things that helped the Star Trek franchise live on for so long.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the advantages I think that the original series movies had over TNG. Was when the TNG movies came on, we hadn't seen these guys for 10 years. Right?
There was a love affair.
The original series movie.
The original series guys, they've been gone since 69. There was the cartoon in 74. But from 69 to 79, there was no live action Trek. And so, it's 10 years later, you want to see your old friends or whatever. TNG had the disadvantage, even though I think Generations and First Contact were decent movies and pretty good.
Insurrection's not bad.
Insurrection, you know what? Insurrection gets a bad rap, but I like Insurrection.
It grows on you.
But, well, here's the thing. The problem that all of the movies
F. Murray Abraham.
They were 2-hour episodes. I couldn't separate, even though I saw them on the screen, as soon as I watched it on home video, it ruined the movie because I was like, oh, that's an episode. Because I didn't have that, there wasn't enough technology change, there wasn't enough uniform change, there wasn't enough time.
Yeah, but you know what would have happened though too? I think like if they would have changed too much, people would have fucking been super pissed.
That's exactly what I was just thinking.
They would have. I
like
get
in the 90s, increasing your production budget meant like more explosions and special effects and stuff like that. That really wouldn't have been Star Trek if they had done that back then.
Right, but I'm just saying.
Look how much you complain about J.J. Abrams.
But if there had been more time, if we had taken 5 years between end of TNG, like if you had waited until the end of Voyager to have a TNG movie.
I feel you.
There's something, so we would have missed. It's hard to,
There was no longing. There's no longing for more Patrick Stewart the way there is now. Or like,
here's the thing. If we had not had that movie,
you probably couldn't have gotten all those guys at that point, though.
But if you had have had
those
that
motherfuckers weren't doing nothing except Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
Exactly. But he'd come back.
He's coming back now.
Exactly. But I'm saying,
the paycheck.
Can you imagine if TNG had gone off the air? The next season was when Voyager started. If the only Star Trek that we had was the last 3 seasons of Voyager.
I'm so funny.
I mean, of the last 3 seasons of DS9, 7 seasons of Voyager. So the only good Trek that was on the air was every 30th episode of Voyager and every other episode of DS9. For 7 years, that's all we get. And then the TNG movie comes out. How much we've been like, oh my God, this is so great. We finally get to see what happened.
Wasn't the whole thing like with Enterprise, Star Trek fatigue, or, franchise fatigue or whatever?
I just think some of Enterprise sucked, though. Like,
the first 3 seasons were so bad.
I mean, I liked the first 11. Yeah, there were some good episodes, but I felt like
those are the only ones I've seen so far.
That temporal time war thing, like,
why?
Every time I would turn it on, I would just see a bunch of guys standing in a dark room talking to each other. It was like watching that scene from Dr. Strangelove with a bunch of aliens over and over and over again. Like, well, this is what we're gonna do, and like, yeah.
Peter Sellers was on Enterprise.
Kind of.
That would have been great.
There was some menace. There was a lot of menacing planning going on, and then like you'd go back to the Enterprise, and they'd be like, here we are on the ship. It's just, I don't know, man.
So this was an episode with time travel that I enjoy.
I had no idea there was a temporal police. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yep.
There wasn't before this episode.
Time police.
The
Time cop.
So we have the dream police. We have the time police. That's all I knew, too. That's why I didn't go any further with that song.
Nobody knows anything else.
Because that's a Cheap Trick song, right?
Yeah, like, who else besides Cheap Trick knows the words to that song?
Cheap, maybe their wives
Maybe.
and girlfriends at the time.
Yeah, like,
It's
stop
great because I
singing
love
that.
that song. I don't know any of the lyrics to it.
I mean, I only know the chorus. I don't know how the rest of the song
Here,
goes.
I'll get it. Oh, hang on. I'll get it.
You don't even know the chorus. You know the
No,
title.
I know how it goes. Like,
Okay.
I have no idea how the verses sound.
The dream police. Dee-dee-do-skee-do-doo-doo. All right.
In my head, the whole song goes like that.
The dream police, they live inside of my head. The dream police, they come to me in my bed. The dream police, they're coming to arrest me. Oh, no. You know that talk. And people are like, oh, yeah, this band belongs in the Hall of Fame. You know that talk is cheap and rumors ain't nice. And when I fall asleep, I don't think I'll survive the night, because they're waiting for me, looking for me every single night. They're driving me insane, those men inside my brain. The dream police, they live inside of my head. The dream police, they come to
climb
me.
into my bed.
Yeah, it's not a great song. The dream police. All right.
Let's not pick it apart. I enjoy it.
I know, I like the song too. I'm just saying, like, these are some really shitty words. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
You know?
Those crazy rockers.
Those crazy cheap trickers. I mean, my daughter could have wrote this song when she's 8.
Yeah.
She didn't.
I know. I wish you would have, because then I'd be rich.
No, because you'd be poor because Cheap Trick would come and sue you for.
No, because I would get that orb that we found and go back in time and write
There
the
you go.
song before they did.
And then you could sue them and get extra money.
Yeah.
Sophie's song would be The Dream Police Part 2.
Where's part 1? Damn it!
Even Dreamier Police.
The dreamier police. The more dream police.
Dream Police 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Dennis, you weren't on the show last week. What did you think of the assignment with Keiko and?
I know you guys didn't really like it. I thought it was okay.
All right. And you left early the week.
I enjoyed it.
You left early the week before that. How did you feel about the episode before that one?
Which one was that?
I don't remember. I was hoping you.
You have your answer, sir.
Oh, no,
All right.
was that the war? That was the war episode, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That was the
Oh, yeah,
Doctor
yeah.
War episode.
Doctor War.
Yeah, that was War
He
ER.
goes to the Spanish War
Oh.
and becomes Ernest Hemingway in space. Takes
In space.
I was there for most of that episode.
Yeah, but you split because your kid woke up. Or you didn't rate it, though, is what I'm saying.
Oh. Yeah, that's like a 6, I
All
guess.
right. Okay.
Space Mash was a 6.
Last week was probably like a
We're all waiting for
25.
you. Did you say a 25?
6.5.
Wow.
I enjoyed it.
Same as me.
I don't remember liking it very much.
You guys, you didn't like it because you don't like Keiko.
I don't like you now, Dennis.
It
I
was the
thought
best of the Keiko
Kiss me.
episodes.
I thought
I
Keiko
will
was
so
the
hard.
best time. I think it proved that Keiko is not the problem, or the actress isn't the problem. The character.
Keiko is not the problem.
Well, no, I'm just saying the actress who plays Keiko can act. It's just that the character of Keiko is the bad, because when
She's awful.
when she's playing a character of a non-corporeal being who is taking control of Keiko, she's great.
I agree with that. It was the best Keiko episode.
It is. You know what? Maybe the problem is O'Brien.
Mario.
Maybe O'Brien's just kind of whack. Like, did we ever think about that? Have we ever come to that conclusion? Like,
Because he never backhands her.
no, I mean, Dennis, that's not right. But I mean, maybe just because, like,
Figuratively speaking.
I mean, maybe the marital life of Miles O'Brien just isn't very satisfying to anyone.
Yeah, because it has nothing to do with the rest of the episode.
Yeah, it's just like he's just
it's just kind of jammed, and they're like, "Yep, he's still married."
Yeah, totally. Like I'd be happier if he left Keiko and went gay with Julian. Like that's what needs to happen.
There's not a lot of stakes in their relationship.
Yeah, there's no stakes at all.
Because somebody's not off doing something dangerous while the other one has to try and save him or anything like that. It's always just kind of random.
Yeah, one's just yelling at the other one.
Yeah,
and the other one's wishing he's dead.
And I never feel any kind of like chemistry between the two.
Yeah.
Like, they're just there.
It's very poor casting, yes.
Yeah. So, but I like O'Brien in general. That may be an unpopular opinion.
I like O'Brien too. Every time I see him though, I just like wonder how Colin Meaney didn't end up in a Hobbit movie or something.
That's a good point.
Like how did that not happen?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I'm trying to think which Hobbit he would have played.
Or just any character in Lord of the Rings. Like he's like one of the most prominent like Irish actors of our generation, and like he's never
right behind Liam Neeson.
Yeah, but I mean, like he didn't like they didn't even bring him in for an audition. You know?
Maybe he insisted on wearing an eye patch, and they're like, no.
That'd been pretty badass.
Look, dude, you can't be Legolas. It's not going to work. No, I want to be Legolas. It's the only way I'm going to do it. I got to be Legolas. It's like, no.
Orlando Bloom.
Yeah, well, he's real handsome and young, and you're neither one of those things.
Yeah, because that movie would have been like, what, the year after DS9 ended or something?
Imagine Cole Meany bouncing around like Legolas.
That'd have been awesome, right?
Doing flips in the air and shit.
It would look like one of those jib jab videos.
Like this gigantic head on this thin body.
With a big afro. He'd be the only fucking elf with an afro.
Oh my god, somebody please Photoshop this poorly.
Dennis?
I want to see the worst Photoshop of this.
Skills.
Dennis, we need your poor Photoshop ability.
No, we need to go to Jib Jab and see if there's something out there. You know, when they say like, oh, upload a picture of your face and let's upload Cole Meany's face.
All right, so this episode is what? Trials and Tribulations?
Tribbleations, yeah.
Tribbleations. What happens?
Well, the temporal police show up at Deep Space Nine.
Temporal police.
And they want to...
give it all I can. It's not enough. It wasn't like
time to play with some tribbles.
Temporal police, arrest this tribble. He multiplies too much.
They're eating all our food.
They're all
this multiplication is causing a division. So,
I can't believe we didn't think of Karma Police, Dream Police, Time Police, Karma Police.
We got there.
Yeah.
We can't come up with all the polices.
We know more words to Karma Police than...
Well, Karma Police is a way better song.
Yeah. That's true. That's undeniable.
And they question Captain Cisco about his recent temporal activity.
Now, you know, if this was real, they just would have shot Cisco. Like, if these were real police officers, they just would have shot him and sprinkled some crack on him. Yeah. Time bullets. They'll go off after we leave.
Yeah.
Time. That's very funny. Man, we are really great at this podcasting. I don't care. I don't care what anybody says.
What I've heard.
Now, Ben, did this episode piss you off? Because I know you have a problem with like when an episode starts and then it shows you like how they got there, how this happened, and they like rewind.
No, because this episode came along before that had become just so fucking overused.
Well, they also didn't do the record scratch moment where Cisco's like, I bet you wonder how I got in this situation.
Yeah.
Oh, and they also didn't do it was like he was telling them the story. It wasn't the, you know, they're coming in as like, you time traveled illegally. And then when it came back from the
it wasn't Riker and Troy in a holodeck, like recreating the...
Yeah, well, no, it didn't pop up like, 47 hours earlier.
They didn't drop you right into the action and then like stop the story and rewind and start over
Right,
again
and then
or whatever.
get us up to that point.
Gotcha.
I thought
Okay.
they did a good job of explaining all this stuff. Like like the flashback was very well done.
Yep.
Mhm.
And so they're what is it? I forget how long ago, but they're at Cardassia. They're picking up what they were there for some other mission.
I don't even remember what they
There
were
was
doing.
an orb, right? They
Oh
got
yeah, that's right. The orb of time that they didn't know was the orb.
the orb of time.
Oh, yes. One of the Infinity Stones.
Yes, and
If Thanos gets that one, it's going to be
That's right.
bonkers.
they also picked up a human who
Thanos
who
attacks
was-
Deep Space Nine.
there's a human that's been trapped on Cardassia after the Klingon invasion started, and so he's finally going to get to go home, and he's just happy to be able to get good coffee again, because apparently Cardassians drink hot fish juice, hot fish
Mm.
for.
I had a girlfriend once that smelled like hot fish juice.
Hot Fish Juice was my lesbian rock band in college.
Hot fish juice. We opened up
Headlining
for,
at Lilith Fair.
yeah, we opened up
Yeah.
for L7 one time. It was pretty rad. Hot fish juice. Hot fish juice.
Tonight,
And so-
Lilith Fair, featuring hot fish juice.
Come get your hot fish juice.
And you get some Raktajino, which is Klingon coffee, and he's talking about how the Klingons are these disgusting people, but at least they make good coffee.
So, Ben, when for people like you who had seen, the original series,
Mm-hmm.
probably, and seen the Trouble with Tribbles episode
Mm-hmm.
multiple
Me.
times, like once he said his name, you're kind of like,
Well, no, that was the thing, is he didn't tell his real name.
oh,
It wasn't until he had snuck on board and Worf was giving them, he's actually this guy, and he tells the real name and everything. That's when you would have known. But as soon as there was so much lead up to this with the the promotions and shit, that we already knew what was up.
well, I guess they spent so much on the technology to make it look like they were in the old episode. They
Right.
probably want to make sure people watched.
And it was, it was like, we're not really hiding the fact that he's Arn Darvin or whoever. It's just like, nope, here he is. So he had his fake name.
You Darvish?
Yes, he was the. Is he Japanese?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a Japanese ball player.
He's half Brazilian too, but he's from Japan.
He's half Brazilian?
I think so.
Oh, interesting.
I was not aware of that.
Me neither.
Brazilian and Asian doesn't have the same ring to it, though.
Hugh. Well, I guess if he was our friend, we can call him Hugh Brazil Asian or something.
Yeah.
What up, Hugh?
That's actually kind of Brazilian Asian. No, it doesn't flow.
Hey, fuck you. That's one of my favorite Curb Your Enthusiasm bits. But anyway. So where are we?
So we're back on the Defiant. They're going to get this guy.
We're going to get him.
We're going to get him.
Yeah. So
But then some shit happens.
yeah, something happens. Boom, shaky, uppy, or whatever. Somebody's beaming off the ship.
particles or some shit again, right?
Something like that.
Tachyon particles.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh shit, we've lost our cloak. Somebody's beaming off. So there's like, deactivate the transporter and, get the cloak back on. It's too late, but they get the cloak back up. And it's like, holy shit, we're like 200 light years from where we were before.
What happened?
Oh no. And it's like, oh, and there's another ship here.
What happened?
And the view screen comes on, and it's the USS Enterprise.
Yeah. Not the Jean-Luc Picard Enterprise, mind you.
No, the real one.
Yeah, not the Cameron Fry Enterprise.
No bloody A, no bloody B, no bloody C or D.
Just the Enterprise.
Just
Now,
the
like, at one point in the conversation with the time police,
Uh-huh.
it seems like they had some continuity issues, like where they're saying like this is the first one.
Well, no. Well, okay. So this.
Well, the first Enterprise is the NX-01.
Incorrect.
Damn
That is the first.
you,
Earth-
Ben!
That is the first Earth Starship Enterprise. The
Ah.
first Federation Starfleet
semantics.
Starship Enterprise was NCC 1701.
All right,
It's
so
already been argued out many times online.
I was going to say, it sounds like you really prepared for this argument.
You know, there were a lot of young guys I saw go down in that fight.
This will be the hill I die on, Benjamin McCormick.
So, yeah, so this is like the first Enterprise.
It's such a pedantic point, too.
But no, well, here's the thing, though, is that, you know, when the guy says, you know, which Federation Starship Enterprise, because there's been 5, and then the other guy corrects him and says 6.
Yeah.
Well, that was cool because this was November of 96.
When the
movie hadn't come out yet. So the Sovereign class Enterprise hasn't been actually revealed, but this was our first thing of, oh, they're making another one.
But see, that would have been, the way I took that was they knew about something in the future, you know, because they're the temporal year
2000.
So
they know exactly how many Enterprises there will ever be. You know what I mean?
Well, we know there's at least, we go through J, is I think the latest one I've ever seen.
J?
Yeah. But that's way in the future.
Is that in the books? Because that shit don't count.
Nope, it was on Enterprise.
Who cares?
In the future.
In the year 2000.
So we find out that they've traveled back in time to
start. The year 2000.
You need a flashlight on your face.
Stardate.
It's pretty dark in here, to be fair. Where's my phone?
Yeah, just use your phone.
I don't know where it is. It's upstairs. Why would I need it? I'm recording.
The best part of that bit is when they kept doing it after the year 2000.
That was my favorite part.
That's when it got funny.
It was funny before.
It was always funny.
Yeah, but when they started doing it after 2000, you're like, these guys are geniuses.
Yeah, so we find out that Barry Waddle has beamed over.
Barry Waddle.
He beamed off the Defiant to either the
Barry Waddle.
And his name isn't Barry Waddle.
What a dirty liar.
Arn Darvin.
Now, how long has he been going by Barry Waddle? Since he's been in Cardassian prison?
Yeah, no, he wasn't in Cardassian prison.
He was a merchant.
He was a merchant.
Yeah.
Because he's a, what do you call it?
Disgraced.
No, he what was it? He sells gemstones.
Baubles. I sell baubles.
Yeah, Kivas and Trillium.
Butt plugs.
And that was the same thing that Spock and Kirk did on
Space Adam and Eve.
Not balance of terrorism.
He has pure romance parties.
Like he opens the briefcase and you see the gems, and then he lifts it up. It's a false top. It's like, okay, under the gems, I got all these sex toys.
What happens is it's a gem, but then he picks it up and the bottom is connected to a butt plug. And he's like, see, look, I've got all kinds of different kinds.
Some make tails.
Some make gems.
Yes.
Some make ridges.
You want a shiny butthole?
Yes.
I'm a man.
Yes.
Who doesn't want a shiny butthole?
Yeah. I would love the shiniest of all buttholes.
Why waste money on anal bleaching?
You could just have
with a few of these gemstones.
Place gently in your rectum.
Yes. Or forcefully.
Or either way.
Whatever floats your boat.
Kind of ease it in, I guess. You don't want to just jam it right in there.
Not the first time, anyways.
Yeah.
So they break up into teams. They dress up into a period appropriate.
Who's writing that book? Of Barry Waddle.
Barry Waddle.
Plug salesman. To the stars.
To the Cardassians.
Well, and as we find out, Barry Waddle is not actually Barry Waddle. He's Arn Darvin, who, if you've missed all the promotion, if you miss the fact of recognizing the actor's name or the actor's face after 30 years, and you're like, I'm completely clueless when they said Arn Darvin, you should have been like, oh, the guy from Trouble with Tribbles. That's the guy. So,
they basically tell you that at one point too.
Well, yeah, at this point.
Yeah, they give you the history lesson.
And that he was a Klingon that had been surgically altered to look human, because that's never happened before. Wait.
That's Discovery.
Just 10 years before. Oh my God, this is... Maybe he's not Arn Darvin. Maybe he's Core. Anyway, so...
it's coming back soon. Renew your subscriptions now, because then you can watch them all when the new ones start, in the 7th, I think?
Man, that's soon.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So he is a surgically altered Klingon that had infiltrated and then had been sent to try to wreck the Federation's mission to deliver the brain.
Did he try to wreck them?
and then he got outed by Kirk. Did some time, I guess, in Federation space jail, and then went on impersonating a human.
Ben, you are blowing through this, dude.
No, that's like the first scene.
I love it. No, I just love your dedication to the show, man. Like you're just going.
No, we can't even derail you with butt plugs.
We're on toss mode right now, buddy.
I was gonna say I knew exactly what this was. This is original series.
Now
this is my life?
Now is this what's going to be like when we review TOS episodes? Like
in 10 years when we finally get.
I can't make any promises either way because I don't know who I'll be in 10 years.
Are you going to transform into a Klingon?
Well, I don't understand what that means.
Well, we all grow as people, and I'm not me from 10 years ago. I'm not me from 20 years ago.
But you're still going to be a Star Trek fan in 10 years.
Yeah, but before Dork Trek started, I'd been clean and sober for like, I want to say 9 years.
Welcome.
Don't blame us. You know what, man? This is friendship, bruh.
Well, that's the best thing from it. I was willing to let my life get wrecked and end up with Star Trek posters on my wall.
Wrecked them.
Damn near wrecked them.
I've worn a Starfleet uniform more after 40 than I did before 40, and that just disturbs me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and we also play Star Trek role-playing games now, too, which is this weekend. We're playing Saturday, right?
Yeah.
It's 2018, Ben. You got to let your freak flag fly.
Yeah, Ben. It's 2018, man. People don't care anymore, dude. Like, there are people on Instagram that dress up in Star Trek uniforms that have thousands and thousands of followers.
They're influencers.
Yeah. Don't you want to be an influencer, Ben?
Yeah. Start dressing up sexy in Star Trek clothes on it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd follow you, Ben.
Need a little bit more gym time.
No, you could be one of those BBW models or whatever they're called.
No.
Dad bod is in.
Yeah, dude, you'd be like the dad.
I have to get back down to dad bod.
Redefine the class.
Yeah, like, look, man, I'm extra dad bod, right?
I'm like the refit Constitution class. I'm the refit dad class.
Oh, you could dress up like starships. That'd be even better.
No.
Have a belt with some nacelles hanging off it or something.
Now, see, okay, so one of my
dong could be the bridge.
Yeah.
One of the things that makes me super
To the
sad
bridge.
with all the stuff that I lost when my grandmother passed away, and my racist ass family basically, ostracized me. Before I had joined the Navy, when I was still living at home with my grandmother, my friend Jeffrey, who was the chief engineer of the Yorktown, we took over the summer and made a model of the USS Reliant.
That's fun.
And I don't know if you ever saw the Erdl or the whatever USS Enterprise model.
Yeah.
It was like the 18-inch model.
Mm-hmm.
This was on the same scale as that.
Oh, that's cool.
Right. So, and Jeffrey there was a reason he was my chief engineer, because he was into that whole engineering mindset and shit.
Uh-huh.
And so he made models. So he was one of these people who would sand the pieces to make sure that the lines were perfectly. I'm like, throw more glue on it and shove it together. So,
dude, the Star Trek models were tough too, because like especially the nacelles.
Absolutely.
Hard to hold up. I remember as a kid, I built a bird of prey, and like the neck just kept falling, and you just had to just jam like thousands of pounds of model glue to get it to stay up, and it still wouldn't stay up. It was impossible.
Jeffrey,
they're talking about their penises, Jenny. You missed that.
It was hard to keep it up.
Yeah.
So the thing with the Reliant, though, is that it's front heavy, and so it wants to tip forward.
Just the tip.
And so Jeffrey took and got he made little bags of sand and put those in the nacelles before we glued them together.
That makes sense.
Right? So then you had that extra weight in the back end of it that kind of
kept it up. That's very smart.
And it was just like,
need some junk in the trunk.
Yeah.
I would have never thought of that shit. So when he does that, it's just like, okay. So then that was on my bookshelf in my room for like.
That has got it. It took him a minute.
40-year-old virgin.
And,
you feel like bags of sand.
Have you ever touched a boob before?
Yes.
Dude, so go back and watch that movie. That's a great film.
I still haven't seen that yet.
You haven't seen 40-year-old virgin? It's really good.
My wife hates Steve Carell.
How can you hate Steve Carell?
No, she's stupid.
I want to see
It's like a frying pan's gonna go.
twang. I want to see that new movie he's got coming out.
Yeah, it looks sad though, because like it's him and it's
You
him
talking
and
about Vice?
no, the one with the son, the drug addict kid, right?
No,
You're talking about the one where he gets beat up and like
he
make
does the toys and stuff, and he has a whole life where he like lives out.
Marwin or something. Welcome to Marwin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's too inspirational for me.
Well, no, and I might not. I want to watch it, but I probably won't be able to watch it because it's one of those movies where, like, when I was a kid and my shitty life, what I would do is take my Star Trek action figures and my Star Wars action figures and my GI Joes.
They should never cross pollinate, Ben.
Well, I did because they were the same scale. And so I would, I'd take, well, they lived in different counties, so it was okay because I took this part of, so on the farm, I found this area and I like marked it off and I mowed the grass like super low and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got like the moss.
Your grandmother appreciated that.
Well, no, it wasn't in the yard. This was out. We had 600 acres. I can find a spot.
600 acres.
Yeah. So I had made this area, and it was, I don't know, it was about the size of my living room, a little bit bigger. That was my little town. And so I had like all the people had their houses and stuff, and there was like a big landing pad for the Millennium Falcon. And so it was just like a little city, and the Falcon was their primary, heavy transport, and the X-Wing was more for your fast getaways and shit. The GI Joe, the HISS tank was there and stuff. But again, everybody stayed on their side of town. And
The Conquest X30.
No. My buddy had the.
Everybody wanted that when it came out because it had the forward swept wings. Looks so cool.
I didn't like that. And my buddy had the Tomcat with the
Tomcat was cool.
The wings that would go back.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Did you have the play with the inverted wings?
Well, that's the one he was.
That one was awesome because it had the shark face on the front. I really liked that one.
No,
so the Tomcat, was that the you're talking about G.I. Joe, right?
Yeah.
Then they called them Sky Strikers or something in the show?
Something like that. Yeah. Because they had like I said.
It was an F-14 Tomcat, but they couldn't call it that. So
right.
Well, we would have known what they called it if we would have finished the G.I. Joe podcast.
Yeah. I think they call them Sky Strikers in the very first episode.
But man, that G.I. Joe show was pretty.
Cobra Rattlers. Cobra had the coolest stuff.
Man. Well, the Rattler was the
Trouble Bubbles. Those things were fucking awesome.
I
would love to have a Trouble Bubble today.
Didn't Cobra have the one that kind of what's the English plane that fucking?
That was a Cobra Rattler.
Yeah.
It had it was supposed
the Harrier. Isn't it a Harrier?
It looked more like an A-10 because it had like the Harrier has the engines built into the fuselage, but these had the engines on the wings. And
that was the thing, is the A-10
tiltable.
Yeah, that was it was like it invented the Osprey before the Osprey was
Yeah, well.
Yeah, and the Cobra bubbles were pretty
Those were jet engines, not tilt-a-rotor. But
do you remember the outfit, like the body armor that they had, like the Tony Stark Hulk bust armor that Cobra had for a while too? No. You remember that? Like there was like an armor, like it was like you'd put there. Yeah, that thing was awesome.
Yeah, Cobra Rattler.
Let me try to find that. It was a G.I. Joe armor where like you'd put the guy in like a plastic and it looked like he was in like a body armor suit, which was pretty cool. Let's see. Jenny's so bored right now.
I have no idea what the fuck you guys are talking about. This is stuff for boys.
We could talk
I'm not
about
a boy.
like Gem or some shit.
Or
I
we
didn't
talk
watch
about
Gem.
Star Trek.
That's true. We could talk about Star Trek.
What's a Star Trek?
Yeah, what's Star Trek?
So O'Brien and Bashir. Well, first of all, O'Brien, Bashir, Cisco, and Dax dress up in 23rd Century Starfleet uniforms.
They look really nice, by the way.
Well, here's the thing: is as I watched it, and this is the first time I had watched it on, the big screen that I've got. It's the first time that I've seen it since Discovery. I've watched a lot of the remastered TOS episodes, so I was afraid that I know Jane and I think had watched it a while ago.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I think.
And it was one of those things where I'm like, oh God, but I haven't, I've seen all this classic Trek that's been made better with the new special effects and stuff. When I go to watch this, is it going to make it look bad? and I was concerned about that. And so, like, one of the things I was looking at the texture of their uniforms, because if you watch a lot of the newer stuff where they redo the old uniform stuff, they look so much smoother than I remember. And these, though, when I looked at the texture that our guys were wearing, it's like, it doesn't really, I'm afraid that the new material is going to clash with the old material. But then Kirk and Spock come in, and I'm like, oh no, theirs looks just, the same texture. So it matched out pretty good.
It looked like velour or something.
Yeah, they looked really nice.
So they, what was it? Operations wore red, Command wore gold, and women wore less.
Yes. Now this is when I was watching the episode, I told my wife, I was like, there's no fucking way Dax is gonna walk around, like, be a regular officer on this ship and Kirk not know who she is.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how is Kirk not gonna know? Like, there's
no way.
This 6 foot tall woman in like go-go boots who's got legs up to her fucking eyeballs, and Kirk's not gonna be like, why have I never seen you before? Like, I don't understand.
There's also no black guys with shaved heads and goatees.
Yeah. Real scary looking motherfuckers. Like, are you like space Black Panther dudes? Yeah. So like,
but I thought those two, Cisco and Dax, looked really good in their uniforms.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell you,
look very awkward.
Colin. Well, I think it's because their hair too. Like they did
their
weird.
hair was all fucked up.
But Colin Meaney's hair actually looked better without the afro. But if they would have cut the mullet in the back, it would have looked better. But and Julian just looked weird.
He looked dumb.
See, I thought Julian's dumb hair fit the time period.
Oh, it totally did.
I mean, because that was.
Did he hump that lady?
His grandmother?
Yes.
I've never seen somebody so eager to be their own great grandfather.
I want to hump that lady.
Usually, it's one of those things of like, oh my god, I can't be intimate with.
I think he was making that up.
Now, did this?
Like, he probably said that it would have been funny if, like, throughout the episode, he kept saying that, like, "Wait, my great grandmother's name was this. My great grandmother's name was that. I
really want to fuck my grandma."
That lady was DTF for real. And now, did this this happen before the Futurama episode? Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other thing, well, the become your own grandfather thing has been around for a while with time travel.
But this is.
I mean, Futurama is pretty inspired by Star Trek, though, so I wouldn't be surprised if that ain't.
They were all big Trek fans.
Now, because like the lady though, like that's the one thing I will say about Star Trek, the original series, is all the ladies on that show were smoking hot.
And DTF.
Like they all have their hair done up in like this ridiculous fashion, and like they all have these super short skirts and go-go boots on, and like all the aliens of the day you meet. Even though I don't even think the waitress that waited on fucking Odo in the bar was wearing pants.
Yeah.
Like, it was the 60s, man.
Her tits were hanging out.
She wasn't wearing pants, for God's sakes. Her boobs were all over the place. And I was like, what is happening here? This is amazing.
You have to remember, in the 60s, like, women's role was just to be the love interest.
But how did they get anything done is what I'm saying with Starfleet. Like, all they did was just like...
That's why they kept having shenanigans happen.
Fucking fight. Like, that's just like...
Are we crossing to the neutral zone again? God
there
damn
definitely
it.
was
I
not.
wasn't paying attention to my maps.
There was not a Me Too movement in the Star Trek universe.
No.
If it did, it died out quick.
It was a different Me Too. It's like, oh, you fucked her? Me too.
Eskimo brothers.
Yeah, we all Eskimo bros, Jack.
Me too.
Space Eskimo brothers.
Well, what was it when they were originally writing Star Trek? Roddenberry wanted the crew to be 50-50 because it was going to be an equal, future women.
That's not why.
No, it's because he was a cornball who's on
cocaine.
Fuck everybody.
The network said that if they made the crew 50-50, it would give people the impression that they were pairing off in space. So they wanted it to reduce it, and so it could only be the crew could only ever have 1/3 female.
Like fucking. But then, well, how come the men?
1/3? So that means 2 men to 1 woman. So they had to be teaming up.
Yeah, they were doing the Devil's Triangle, bro. Now, what about just men fucking, right? Like, can't men get lonely in space and fuck?
No.
See, they would have been fine with that.
Because that's what I would automatically think. Like, somebody's phantom stroking is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So the one was it?
You're just gonna roll right past that, Ben?
Odo and Worf go as civilians over to K7 to start searching, while Cisco, Dax, and Julian and O'Brien go over to the Enterprise and start searching because they've got to find.
Worf doesn't look like anything of what anybody knows.
No.
Klingon looks like.
No, and they put like a weird.
Even the Klingons don't know that he's a Klingon.
Right.
No, nobody does because the Klingons don't look like Worf at this point. Because they're just in blackface. They're just super racist blackface dudes that look real greasy.
Worf always speaks in,
Well, this was the
Earth
first
tongues, right? Like he never speaks in Klingon.
Klingon.
Because otherwise, the Universal Translator would be translating for him, and then the Klingons would understand him speaking Klingon, right?
Right.
But since he's speaking English or whatever.
Right. Well, he might be speaking Russian because he.
Yeah. Or, like Earthese, whatever.
He was speaking Yiddish.
Common. We can call it common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I speak basic.
Yeah.
That was the argument I've recently had with somebody, and I think Jenny drove me to it.
What's the argument? I want to know.
I do.
Were you and I talking about code switching?
Yes, we were.
And my thing was, well, I'm going to speak more Jewy when I'm around Jews. You can speak more womany.
Oy vey with the pastrami.
Well, no, and but when you get into a situation, just like Dungeons and Dragons, just like the Federation, there has to be there's a time and place where everybody has, okay, this is the common tongue that we speak.
Yes.
And then when we go away from that, do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But
being a different language is a little bit different than code switching, though.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's the thing is that some of our fucking code switching is becoming different languages. And so to prevent old white men from being like, damn kids need to use punctuation and learn grammar. You just, okay, when we come together, boom, this situation, we all speak on a common square, whatever.
There's the get a job way that you speak, and then there's the normal way that you speak.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not to as great of extent as certain ethnic groups will have to deal with, but even, I mean, the old Jeff Foxworthy thing, you don't want to hear your brain surgeon with a Southern accent, because when you hear that Southern accent, you drop 40 IQ points. Like, we just go cut the top right off and get a stick and just root around in there, see if we can't find a problem. I mean, that was his thing, and you hear Southern accent, you deduct 40 IQ points.
It's a fair guess, though.
But
it's usually pretty accurate.
Yeah, I mean, 40 is, that's even like an average. I mean,
I grew up in the South.
And when you hear that accent, do you not automatically have certain assumptions about people? Now, when I get elected to the White House,
Boston accent or Long Island accent or Midwestern, whatever accent. If you have a strong accent, you sound like an idiot.
Well,
the Boston accent is labeled to intelligence, they said, because the Kennedys and all that stuff. I'm telling
you. Like a Southie?
Yeah, and I'm saying like a Southie, but like a Kennedy, if you talk like this or, that there with the things. And
I don't know. I've only been to Boston once, but I've never heard anybody talk like that up there.
The Kennedys?
Like a Kennedy, no.
I hear a Southie accent, I automatically think I'm probably going to get my ass kicked. Just try not to start anything.
Well,
don't look at anybody the wrong way.
You're probably going to start the fight with them.
So this summer, I was down at Murphy's because the Jamesons were playing there, and I just happened to sit next to this guy who wanted to talk to everybody. So he's talking to me, and I knew instantly he was from Boston. So I was like, oh yeah, I went up there with this band a few years back, and they played at this place right across from the TD Ameritrade, the Garden or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like right across the street. We could see it literally, and there was like a playoff hockey game going on while we were there against the Penguins. And we couldn't remember the name of the place, and he was like, oh, it's probably the Hop. And I was like, no, that doesn't sound right. And I was looking it up and everything. I was like, oh, it's a harp. He's like, yeah, the Hop. I was like, oh, God damn it.
The Hop. It's the Hop. See, the Hop.
It's like, what was it when iPads came out? And they were like, yeah, people from Boston have no idea how to, distinguish between an iPod and an iPad.
The iPad.
Because my iPad with the twirly thing, it's the same. This is an iPad, and this is an iPad. I read the news on my iPad, and I listen to the music on my iPad.
The iPad.
Anyway, I can't do an accent, but they'll kick your ass. So anyway, they're searching the ship. going on their way through everything. What is it? Cisco and Dax get to see Captain Kirk. There's a cute little scene with an engineer and Chief O'Brien or whatever.
Well, the whole episode is filled with little cute moments.
And so now back over on K7, though, Chekhov and Uhura show up. And
there's Odo just sitting in the back of the seat.
I'm in 1966. How did I get here? I don't understand.
It's done really well, though. Like, this episode could be really cheesy.
And sometimes it feels like that. What's that Nirvana video where they look like a Buddy Holly?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
No, not Lithium. It was
in Bloom.
In Bloom, yeah. It kind of has that feel to it.
Yeah.
Where you can tell that this was filmed in the future,
in the past.
Yeah, not in the era they're trying to portray it in. Yeah.
But it has the potential to go off the rails and just be like too cute for its own good.
Right.
But they do a good job. Like, I think maintaining like the cool kind of flashbacky vibe and I guess the modern sensibilities of Trek to some extent, Like, I love the fact that apparently Dax knows and fucked everybody in the 22nd or the 23rd century. Like, she just humped all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she fucked McCoy.
Yes.
No, was she a man at the time, or which one she said she was?
He said he had. I remember him saying he had soft.
What
the hell?
Hands of a surgeon.
Don't feed that thing.
Don't feed it. You'll have 1,000 of them.
Yeah.
Especially
So what I'm watching
after midnight.
Shut up. So I'm watching the episode, and during that scene, like, she's like, he had the hands of a surgeon, and kind of looks at the camera like, yeah, you know what I mean? And the fucking Tribble is sitting on my coffee table. I'm not touching it. I'm nowhere near it. I'm like 5 feet away from it, and it starts making that fucking noise, like it was laughing. It was like, yeah, he does.
That's awesome.
It just fucking did it again.
That's weird.
That thing is possessed.
It loves finger banging.
It wants to finger. I mean, finger banging is pretty cool. I mean,
It's hungry.
Yeah. When's the last time you just finger banged? Or
Morning. Oh.
Not yourself.
Yeah. When's the last time? Like, well, I guess with Jenny answered the other end of that.
But it's going to be more recently than us, probably.
When's the last time you just finger banged?
Wait, what time is it now?
When did we start recording this episode? Like 5 minutes before.
Finger bang, bang.
Finger bang.
Oh, cool thing. Speaking of Eskimo
Finger banging?
And
You got your fingers stitched.
grandma, the lady who played Lieutenant Watley,
Yes.
that they met in, she
Jodie
had been,
Watley?
She
had been on Star Trek before.
I heard she was looking for a new love.
I heard she was looking to fuck.
So the actress had appeared on TNG on Risa. She was the young lady who came up to Picard when he was on Captain's Holiday and offered to help.
So she's just a sextra.
Maharan.
She is a
She's
sextra.
the extra for sex purposes.
She's like, hey, we need a sextra. Like, get her. She's over there. But what if she's not like that's got to suck for her though. I'm sure she wanted to be like a real actress, and
She's Shakespearean trained. She's come to Hollywood from England, And
she ended up basically in porn.
Yeah.
I want to work on my trade and make films, classy films, wonderful works of art. And she's like, who wants to fuck me? I'll fuck you, grandson.
I'm coming for a physical tomorrow. I want you to check out my vagina.
And by physical, I mean I want you to stick your penis and fingers in my vagina.
All of them.
Yeah, there's no way like Dax, the Kirk doesn't see Dax on this ship before and it's like, hey.
But here's the thing, though, is I think she fit the uniform well.
I think
she looks
shorter
amazing.
than everybody else's too.
Yeah.
I don't know, because when I looked at the blueprints for them, they were
The schematics.
The schematics for the uniforms, those skirts were pretty short.
I think she would look good in a blue one.
I think she would look good in anything. She looks great in Back to School. Go watch Back to School. She's in that. She's amazing looking.
What?
I had no idea that. Yeah, she's Valerie Desmond in Back to School.
Yeah.
She's the love interest. I had no idea. I've seen Back to School 1,000 times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta watch that again.
I love Back to School. It's not on every weekend like it used to be back in the day. I think you may actually have to like. Yeah,
Come on, Comedy Central, get it
I
together.
know. What do you guys show now?
I'm
I
going
don't
to show
even
The
think
Office a lot, so that's good.
Well, I think you can't beat that.
So,
Oh, go ahead, Ben. I'm sorry.
no, just moving on with the thing. Dax and what's his name?
Cisco.
Ben is just all business, man.
They
Business.
Somebody's got to be.
It's business.
Working in the boardroom earlier.
the ship goes to red alert. We find out that
There's a bomb.
Klingon D7 ship has showed up, and it's they have what's her name, Kira, identify the ship, and Dax recognizes that it's Koloth's ship, who we've met on the episodes when the old Klingons came to town.
Yeah.
And
Now
so
see-
she's like, oh, we should go.
That wasn't
it's-
fun.
check him out.
Like, it would have been more fun if they really didn't know what the fuck was going to happen. Because he's like, oh, don't worry. He's not going to attack. They're just here for shore leave. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, well, way to deflate that situation.
Yeah, but the thing is, everybody knows what happens.
Well, that's the thing.
Not everybody. Not if you've only watched DS9. Like, this is in the 90s. Not everybody had Netflix. Not everybody had
Nobody had
the
Netflix.
capability to go back and watch old episodes of the original series.
Dennis.
What?
Then this episode wasn't for those people.
It's true.
This episode was created for one group of people.
Like, honestly, the last time I saw Trouble with Tribbles
Mm-hmm.
was when I was a kid. So I don't remember what the fuck happened.
I feel very bad for you. I mean, was there some embargo on television in your childhood home?
No.
Was
Maybe
it-
they just weren't showing
Better
reruns.
things. Yeah.
Shit.
Okay, so while you were out doing better things, I was coming home
Masturbating.
every day at 6 and watching Star Trek.
Trying to find new ways to play with myself.
I remember why.
I remember watching Star Trek playing with myself. You see, there's ways that you can multitask.
Multitask.
You got to multitask.
So this is what I'm talking about, that it took me so long to get clean, and then I went right back into it. This was, and I know I'm not alone in this, that I mean, fuck, we have a show. So the fact that we have a show means that there's others out there who, instead of, it's like the guy at work that when we were talking about something and I was able to start quoting off specifications for, Federation starships, and he's like, oh, yeah, I never got into that shit. With his vape juice. Yeah, I was too busy getting laid in high school. And it's just like, yeah, fuck off. Okay.
You're
Yeah.
a dickhole. You know what? You're probably not getting laid now, though, so that's the best part.
No, he is.
How do you know?
You're so sad about that, Ben.
Yeah,
You
Ben
really
was like,
wanted
no,
him to be a sad fuck.
He makes me watch.
He still gets it.
I was really hoping his life would be more pathetic than it is.
We're dating now.
Guys, when you come, Bob, when you come to visit, you're going to meet him. We're getting gay married soon. It's going to be amazing.
It's not called gay married anymore. It's just married.
Yes, it is. It'll always, like, I have no issue, believe me, with anyone marrying anyone. But it's just.
Would you call it straight married?
It's just because I'm an immature idiot.
I think we should.
Cis married. I'm getting
Gay
cis married.
I'm getting gay married.
You're getting straight married. You're getting gay married.
Well, because if I'm getting
You're
gay
racial
married, I don't have to explain that I'm marrying another man. Because then, well, what's her name? And like, well, she's not a her, it's a dude. And like, oh. So if you just
Was she
Oh,
always
gay married.
yeah, so if you set her off the
Well,
like, oh,
then
I'm
they have
getting
to like
gay
break
married.
it down. It's like, wait. Was she always a dude, or
That's what you have to say. So like, you don't have to, because like if I say, oh, I'm getting married, well, what's her name? Well, I'm not straight. And they, oh, I'm sorry. So, but if you say I'm getting gay married, I go, oh, what's his name? So I automatically know. That makes sense.
yeah?
So
Well, have fun with the pronouns.
it doesn't.
So
It doesn't make sense, but it just sounds stupid. That's the main reason I like to say.
think I'm gonna start saying straight married, and then just
You should.
I'm gonna assume all marriage are gay.
Oh, you're straight married? Just see what people say. Yeah, I'm
Like when
straight.
somebody says they're getting married, like whatever gender they are, say this. Oh, what's her name?
And honestly, if you say you're getting gay married, there's probably a greater chance people are going to come to your wedding, because a gay wedding sounds more fun than a straight wedding.
Yeah.
I've never been to a gay wedding.
Me either. I'd like to
I would
go.
love to go to a gay. I have a chance. Stephanie has coworkers. Guy. Stephanie has a gay friend at work who's amazing, and his partner is also wonderful. And maybe one day they'll get gay married, and I'll get to go. And like the cool part is they're like an interracial, like hip gay couple. Like it could really be a real big event. Like I'm really excited about it.
Well, my brother's gay.
What is he? That's right. Your brother is gay. What is he going to get
I
married?
need to set him up with somebody.
Yeah.
Just so I can go to the wedding.
Does your brother plays Warcraft too, though? I remember that.
I don't
from
know if
the
he still
radio.
does. Yeah.
But I remember that from the radio show.
Well, yeah.
The gay guild.
I derailed open phones with that.
And you joined the gay guild. Was it okay for you to join it? That was a great, yeah.
Ben's like, what's his name?
Yeah, we can hook up
Ben.
Ben. Do you think? Well, I don't know if Ben would want to, because that'd be too close. Because he'd be like, "Call me. I'm going to call you Dennis." Like, what the fuck?
You my fake Dennis.
Yeah, I can't have the real Dennis. So you're as close as I'm going to get.
Yeah. My brother is taller than me, though. So.
Oh, is your brother more black or Asian? Like, which way?
He pretty much looks like me.
He's just taller and gay.
Yeah, taller and gay.
That's hot.
That's the two main differences.
The two main differences.
Yes.
I was ready to move on. Those are the two main differences. Pretty big differences.
Yeah. And he's like a year and a half older.
No. That's not a big difference.
That's very minor.
That's inconsequential.
Arbitrary at best.
Yeah.
Those are the two main differences.
So meanwhile, back over on K7.
I love this show. I really do.
Great.
Odo has obtained a tribble.
God, we haven't gotten anywhere in this episode.
He's sitting there stroking his tribble.
I liked Odo better when he was a changeling. I don't really like this human Odo.
It's not going to last, so don't worry about it.
Thanks.
I mean, I'm saying like it can't last. Like he's got to go back. They got to let him back in eventually, right? Like I'm not. I don't know.
I do remember seeing like back when DS9 used to be on TNN. There was an episode where like what's his face? Maybe it already happened. I don't know. But the Vorta guy was like being really deferential to Odo.
I like Vorta. He plays two guys on this show.
Wei-Yun.
Yeah, he plays Vorta, and he also plays the Ferengi arbitrator guy.
Mm-hmm. And there's actually one episode because
Brunt, is he Brunt?
Yeah, he's Brunt.
Oh.
And so he's like one of the few.
He gets all the
characters because we know they reuse characters all the time, but he's one of the few that actually ends up playing this different characters in the same episode. Because toward the end of the series, Brunt is in an episode, and Wei-Yun was in the episode as well.
And they do that weird '90s face-off thing. Where
I don't think they.
Hi, I'm Wei-Yun. Hi, I'm Brunt. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I don't think they met each other.
Because I was watching last night the first episode in the Mirror Universe, and you had like Kira and Kira meeting each other.
Intendant,
and like they have to. It's like that's like the face-off move, the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
Like, I can tell you're looking at a tennis ball right now. Nobody.
That eye line will ruin that every time.
Yeah. I can tell you're looking at a tennis ball.
They've gotten pretty good at it with, but I think because they can overlay the CGI better.
Yeah.
They take more time with it other than just putting like two pieces of film together and trying to match it up.
I think the other thing they do is, if your eyes are looking at the wrong place, they can literally move,
they don't even really need actors anymore. They can kind of do it all.
I think the new Captain Marvel movie is going to prove that with young ass 1990s. What's his
Samuel
name?
L. Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson.
But he doesn't look any different. Like you could watch, you can watch Coming to America, Pulp Fiction, and then The Last Avenger. Be like, that's the same guy. Like, there's no difference. Like black don't crack, baby.
I'm not really sold on some of these like CGI recreations of actors.
The
Like
Kurt Russell one didn't look bad in Guardians.
That was a CGI. That was all makeup.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
they probably did a little bit of CGI touch up.
They had to.
They said there was zero CGI. That Kurt Russell though has used the same makeup guy for like 25 or 30 years.
Damn.
That sounds like bullshit.
And that
we do have the internet.
That was all done with makeup.
Wow.
Probably a lot of like duct tape or something like pulling his skin.
They stapled the back of his head is all stapled
Well,
together.
you guys were mentioning Insurrection. That's exactly how they put him on the little thing and just punk. So then the Tribble reacts to Worf, and that's when we find out, Tribbles don't like Klingons.
Yeah.
They're racist.
So now
they have their reasons.
Yeah. A little bit later, though, O'Brien and Bashir
All the
join
tribbles
them.
just cross the street whenever they see a Klingon coming.
I love
Clutch their purses.
And they're talking, and they're like, "Oh, hey, what was it?
That Klingon whistled at me."
The Klingon. They said like, "Hey, the Klingons are over there," and like, those aren't fucking Klingons. Those are just racist guys in blackface. What the fuck is going on? And then Worf was like, "Well, we don't talk about that
for good reason. It's blackface."
The two big things that they mentioned, was it like, what was it? Some virus or something that had done it, or genetic engineering? And when he says he doesn't talk about. Those were both actually what? Well, I don't know. Do you want me to spoil that one?
No, we'll get there.
Enterprise actually tells how the Klingons got that way.
Racism.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Everybody was like, "Hey, can we smooth down these ridges and put on blackface?"
The Federation is so fucking liberal. Let's fucking throw blackface in their faces.
Can we
make them real uncomfortable?
And can we look as whitely as possible? Like, if we put on blackface and then like a bunch of Crisco too, so we look really wet. Like, let's do that.
And I want a Fu Manchu mustache.
Yeah,
because that way I can insult.
It just looked like they never really could commit on the look because they all look really wet. They all look really racist, and they all look very like Asian almost with the weird Fu Manchus and shit. Like they just couldn't commit on something.
Like Mongolian or something like that.
No, I thought it was
all the races we hate. Let's make it one race of people.
It's like the show was created by a Trump supporter.
Yeah. About this time, Chekhov, Scotty.
Give him a poncho and a sombrero too, man. Then we're good to go.
Build the wall.
Hell yeah, man! Space wall.
That was the Klingon battle dress. But
that's why Worf has that sash thing. It was like an actual poncho that got ripped.
Bandolier.
When he hits those buttons in the right order, it pops out into a poncho.
When he was climbing the fence on the caravan.
So when
he saw somebody's Federation uniform drying on the line, he just put it on.
Si, senor.
So Scotty Chekhov and
we don't need no stick and bat left.
in the
senor.
Show up in the bar as well. And O'Brien gets excited because Captain Kirk's there, and they're like, what?
And he's always wanted to bang Captain Kirk.
The guy in the command shirt, and it's like, well, why the fuck's he wearing a lieutenant shirt? He's like, I don't know.
So there's a brawl.
And this is the famous scene from Trouble with Tribbles where, what's his name, Korax or whoever
starts talking cash shit.
And it's like, he's insulting the captain. Chekhov wants to fight. Scotty, is like, no, come, have an opinion. And then he insults the Enterprise, and brawl starts. Scotty kicks ass. Everybody has a big old.
Brian is a giant fucking pussy, by the way. Like every time there's a fight, he gets his ass kicked.
He's the TNG Worf of DS9. Because TNG Worf can't fight for shit.
He's the
DS9 Worf holds his own.
Yeah, Worf was doing good. He was beating up some old school Klingons.
Yeah, like take that racist.
He put on a Captain America uniform, starts punching these racist ass.
But yeah, like TNG Worf can't fight. DS9 Worf clearly went to like MMA class or something.
Well, he probably got tired.
Krav Maga.
He got tired of getting his ass kicked on TNG.
But they didn't really need him to kick ass on TNG because you had Data who kicked everybody's ass and Riker who was pretty tough too.
Like Worf was supposed to be the toughest dude around, so if somebody could kick his ass, then that just makes them look tougher. That was the whole reason why he was there. But they should have let him win a fight every once in a while.
So it would reinforce that he was the toughest guy around.
Yeah, because otherwise it just made him look like a little bitch.
Yeah.
Like when Lore kicked his ass.
That guy beat up a black guy. He must be tough. No, that's not how it works.
Wait, what? It's not?
No.
White guys with small penises are going to be so disappointed.
Aren't they always?
They can prove their
They've led a
manhood.
life of disappointment, so.
Yes. But so the fight goes the way the fight went historically, except with the addition of Bashir and O'Brien. We get the lineup where Kirk tries to weed out who threw the first punch, so we get to see some more CGI or gumping technology in full effect here.
It looks good.
That was the thing is, I mean, you're having Kirk pass in front of O'Brien. So there's shadows that they're having to deal with. There's just a whole wealth of insanity going on with this shit. So, yeah, for 1996, these special effects were insane.
Scotty's a punk ass, though. And he's supposed to be a leader on the ship, and he's like, oh, I'm not selling myself out.
Well, he's smart though too, man.
Well,
just take responsibility, goddamn.
He just gets stitches, bro.
Chief engineer. What's the worst that could happen to the chief engineer? He's not getting fired.
Confined to quarters for a week. Well, no, that was the thing. That was if you.
He had Xbox in his quarters. He's fine.
No, he had technical manuals. That was the big thing. Is once all of the junior guys left and nobody would rat out anybody else, then he confesses to Kirk. Because, when Kirk's like, no, Tim. And then, he's like, well, I'm going to have to confine you to quarters. And he's like, oh, thank you, sir. I get to, catch up on my technical manuals.
Okay, fine. You're not confined.
He's done it in the
You can't
past.
go to your quarters. You have to stay up for a week.
You have to go work on the engines. That's even better. Oh, shit.
God, you have KP duty.
He's that nerdy kid that, there's no aspect of punishment. It's like, no, you have to go to your room, and then I have to take away your books. Fuck. It's like...
well, I got to read. Like, nah, duh. You got to just sit in there and get dumber as time goes.
I had a friend whose kid was one of, the kind that just always had a book in front of him. And, like, he took away the computer and the video games and stuff. And so she was, like, in her room reading all the time, which is what she did anyway. So he's like... So the only way I can punish her now is to take away books. And he's like, I don't want to be the parent that is like, oh yeah, remember when you were 12 and I took away your books that summer and made you.
Then you're like a Nazi.
It's a lot easier just to blindfold the kids.
Yeah,
like you can't take off the blindfold.
It's easier to just hit them and be done with.
They know how to carry all those heavy books.
Yeah, totally. All right, well let's wrap this up because it's getting late.
Yes, well that isn't my fault.
I know. I'm not, Ben. I'm saying you're the professional one trying to move us through this. It's
not taking any responsibility. It's bullshit.
It's Jenny, Dennis, and I that are just rattling on and on about God knows what. Mainly me and Dennis.
Fun stuff.
Poor Jenny's just sitting there.
Dax and
thinking about finger banging her.
Figure out that there's no bomb on the ship.
Secret is I've been finger banging myself this entire time.
You wild tramp.
Smell my finger.
Oh my gosh.
That was awesome.
That's a Patreon right there.
Now I had my screen open to the Wikipedia page, so now I have to fucking go to the Patreon. God damn it.
That was funny.
Hey-o.
$10 I'll never see again.
That was really funny. But yeah, so they have some cute interludes and things happen and yada, yada, yada.
They hit a bomb in a tribble to kill Kirk.
Which is a really good idea.
Yeah, they find the tribble bomb, throw it into space, and that's the famous
tribble bomb.
They
found the tribble bomb.
where all the tribbles fall down on Kirk.
Put a triple bomb onto my ship.
They recapture Arn Darvin. As they're leaving, now we're back to the present. It's like, so that was it. You guys came home immediately after that. And he's like, oh no, there's one more thing he had to do. And so then Cisco met James Kirk.
Yeah, and that's the episode.
Like, he spent the whole time cockblocking Dax, and then he's like, "Oh, before we leave, I just got to do something real quick."
Well, he's got to be professional because he's the captain, and he knows Dax will probably try to swallow his load. But Dax was more into meeting Kirk.
Kirk needs that load.
And more into meeting Spock, which is funny because then later in life she goes on to marry his son.
IRL,
yeah. So
Adam Nimoy.
So she ain't lying. She thought Spock was the foxy one.
I did kind of appreciate that she kind of had the hots more for Spock than for Kirk.
I think she even, I want to say she even mentioned it in the book, right? In the book, she was talking about how she thought Spock was awesome.
But weren't most women fans, weren't they more attracted to Spock than to Kirk?
He had a large female following.
Yeah,
back in the day.
He's so exotic.
Well, you would assume that most women who watch Star Trek are nerds. Yeah. And they're going to be attracted to the nerdiest dude on the friggin' show.
Yes.
He's so cold and unfeeling.
Like my dad.
I remember...
that explains. A 55-year-old mystery solved.
So, like, in the 80s, on Love Connection, they would always, like, every once in a while, they would throw in a black guy or Mediterranean guy or somebody wasn't white, like, for the woman to go on a date with.
Hello, non-white person.
without fail, every time they would say, "Oh, he's very exotic," which is just a code word for non-white.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what Spock was, very exotic.
He is black.
No, he's Jewish. What? The pointed ears.
Exotic.
Mm-hmm. He's exotic. But yeah, so
I have a question. Because
yes.
One of the things that I had a hard time believing out of all of this bullshit, the one thing I had a hard time believing was the fact that Cisco would be a lieutenant at this stage. Like, didn't he seem kind of old to be a lieutenant?
There was a lot of old lieutenants on back on the old TOS.
And plus, people age differently. Remember, we talked about this before.
Look at Sam Jackson.
You know, back in the 60s, a guy in his 40s would look like a guy in his 70s today.
Okay.
I mean, so Cisco,
remember that Twilight Zone episode? I forget. The guy was supposed to be like 30 years old. He looked like he was 56 or something.
Well, I mean, check out Patrick Stewart in what was it, Camelot or Excalibur? I forget which one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart's kind of looked the same for like 30 years.
He was
always looked about 60.
He was in his 40s in that.
Yeah. But it's worked out well for him in his 70s because he still looks like he did when he was 40.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was Steve Martin's big advantage.
Yeah.
He went gray early. So when I saw him in 1978, 79, and he had gray hair, he never aged after that.
Yeah, he's always been, 40 years old.
He just grew a banjo.
Yeah, he grew.
Some guys get old and grow a beard. Get a gut. No, he grew a banjo.
He grew a banjo. That's the best way to explain that.
And a Martin Short.
Yes. That's awesome.
Just can't get rid of him.
All right, so what did you got? Well, then at the end of the episode, like, they walk onto the promenade and there's tribbles everywhere, which was pretty cute.
Quark recreates that famous scene with the bartender with the tribbles everywhere.
So what do you think of the episode? We'll start with you, Dennis.
It's like a 6. It's okay.
All right.
But I don't know. Like, the whole time it didn't feel like an episode. Like, nothing was really happening. Like, their whole thing was to find this stupid bomb and to find the guy. And it just didn't feel like a real Star Trek episode. It felt like an excuse to use technology to overlay themselves.
That's exactly what it was.
Classic episode. And it didn't work for me.
All right.
It was still good, but it wasn't great.
Now, I think Ben is going to have the exact opposite opinion. Ben, what did you think of the episode?
Well, I was going to give it a 7.5.
Okay.
But then I remembered that the guy who played Arn Darvin and the chick that played Bashir's possible grandmother were also on an episode of Silk Stockings together, which then takes it up.
My score.
It's a good thing you didn't mention this earlier, because then we would have talked about Silk Stockings for like 10 hours.
Exactly.
So well done.
That bounced us up to for me, it was an 8 because it goes back to you got to dance with the one that brung you, and original series.
Stockings?
No, original series will always be, the show that brought me into this future. The original series is why we know each other, because without original series, I wouldn't have been into, all that came after.
It's true.
So, like, everything in my life goes back to original series. So anytime there's some bad original series episodes.
There's lots of
original series episodes. But this episode has always been one of those fun episodes, but it wasn't just too corny. It was cool that I got to meet David Gerald a few years ago, who wrote Trouble with Tribbles, which was kind of cool. And he's actually in this episode as a lieutenant. There's a scene when the ship goes to red alert, and Dax and Cisco are like, "Oh, what do we do?" It's like, "Go to our red alert stations." And they start to walk away. There's a gray-haired lieutenant who's walking past them. That's David Gerald.
Oh, okay.
The guy who wrote the original Trouble with Tribbles episode. And also the creator of Land of the Lost. But, so yeah, this was, seeing Worf react to the old school Klingons, and then
that was fun.
Pressing, even though they didn't give the answer, they addressed that, nope, that's what Klingons look like.
Yeah.
Time. So I don't care if 30 years from now a new series comes on the internet from CBS and says Klingons look different. This is what they actually look like back now. So yeah, I give it 8 because this is it was a fun episode, and we got to see Kirk and Cisco on the screen at the same time.
All right. What about you, Jenny?
I thought it was really well done. Like the way that they kind of made a new story and wove it into the old one without changing anything. The technology was fantastic. Especially considering this was, mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
I do feel like there was a lot of places where it was really, really close to being campy. Like the way that they kind of was like, I remember that. Oh, I love this old technology. Like it was really like borderline cheesy.
Yeah.
But they got right up to the edge of being too cheesy and just kind of stopped there. But it's still kind of like, it still detracted a little bit for me in a couple places. But I'm gonna say it was a 7. I'm gonna say 7.5. Why not?
I'm gonna agree with that. Like I think they did a good enough job of being kind of campy enough, but not taking it too far. Like they did the wink, wink, nudge, nudge, homage thing, but they didn't go too far with it. So there you go. All right.
One thing Jenny said kind of made it crystallize with me. This kind of reminds me of like the Lower Decks episode, where they're not really the main event happening on the ship. They don't have anything to do with really.
Yeah.
Kind of do their own thing. And so, but for me, I'm used to, we're used to seeing Cisco and these guys be the problem solvers and everything. And to see them just kind of being an auxiliary role in the episode kind of detracted from me for a little bit.
Okay.
See, one of the things Jenny said also with the cheesiness and getting up to the line where it's like, oh, this technology, they don't make them like this, blah, blah, blah anymore. That's one of the things that I kind of identified with Dax, because when she's saying, it's not the same for you guys as it is for me, because I remember living in this time. Right. And then for me, as somebody who grew up with this, I remember living in that time. And there have been times
on the Enterprise.
And so there's times when I've been at conventions and somebody will have like, props and recreations of the old, stuff from the original series. And I'll pick up an old school tricorder that, somebody's made. And it's just like, oh man, they don't make them like this anymore. This is,
I can see that.
I totally get that vibe that she was, expressing there. It's like I was totally picking up what she was laying down.
All right. I love it. All right. Well, there you go, everybody.
It was fun.
It was great. It was really good. I really enjoyed the episode. I really enjoyed recording this episode with you guys. You're just the best. Just the best. You guys are just the best. I have so much fun when we do this together.
We great.
Yes, we are. We definitely great. We greater as a motherfucker. All right. So we will talk to you guys next week. Actually, no, we're taking the rest of the year off.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's a good way to go out on this.
Aren't you coming down though?
Yeah, I'll be in town and we can hang out.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to work.
Yeah, we could just chill. I've never seen the director's
You just watch
cut.
Star Trek for fun without doing a podcast.
And eat cheese and fart a lot. That'll be
I'm ready.
I'll get the low fart cheese.
Low fart cheese. But yeah, this is the last episode. We're taking the rest of the year off. We'll be back in 2019. The farting cheese, it's going out of my butt. We will be back in 2019. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to Patreons for your support throughout the year. And we will talk to you guys in 2019. So goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.